Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rise and Grind in the Morning. 72 the Architect actually coming to you live on YouTube and Clapper. It's a dose of the Daily Stoic, a week in review. That's what we're going to be doing today. So we've covered quite a few things today on Clapper and Rise and Grind, as well as, I've been here in and out on YouTube. So if you want to find me on YouTube, you can go to 72 the Architect, look for Rise and Grind with 72 the Architect, and you'll be able to find the show. So I am producing live for your viewing pleasure. So good to see some of my friends. Hey, Rocksteady, good to see you. And Mr. No Show, my co-host with Blank Canvas. Definitely appreciate you guys. So what are we going to talk about today? The week in review. We've covered quite a few different things in the Daily Stoic, but we are going to cover a little bit about today. So the question of the day says, what power does all my wants take from me? Right. And Ryan goes on to use Seneca from his Theistus 4:4. He says, Tantalus, he says, the higher power is, and Theistus says, no power if you desire nothing. What does he mean by that? And he goes on to explain, he says, in the modern world, our interactions with tyranny are a bit more voluntary than they are of the ancient times. We put up with more controlling bosses through we could probably get a different job if we wanted. We can change how we dress or refrain from saying what we actually think because we want to fit in with some cool group. We put on the cruel critics of or customers, or we put up with, excuse me, but because we want their approval, in these cases, their power exists because of our wants. You change that and you are free. The late fashion photographer Bill Cunningham occasionally declined to invoice magazines for his work. When a young upstart asked him why was that, Cunningham's response was, "It's epic. If you don't take money, they can't tell you what to do, kid. Remember, taking the money, wanting the money, proverbially or literally, makes you a servant to the people who have it. Indifference to it, and Seneca put it in terms that the highest power into no power, at least as far as your life is concerned." Interesting. Now, we've covered a lot of things. Like, for example, on Monday, I kind of talked about, how much do the shiny things cost you, right? I talked about also where, when you, what about things about when you praise, like how long do you praise really? How long do you appreciate someone? And how long does your praise last for? So those are kind of things that we've talked about throughout the week. But to really touch on today's Daily Stoic, we many of us content creators, and we talk about controversial things that, whether it be a documentary. We talked about, the sinistercism of how politics works. We talk about how our daily facets, how we should change, who should give us, how we get paid more, all this stuff, right? But it's like they should, and you know what? They still stay in power. And the only way that they stay in power is they get their supply, right? So their energy supply, where's their energy come from? Your attention, my attention, right? We peddle their brands, we put their, like, if sayings on our shirts like Nike and or Puma or whoever else, or Levi jeans, you name it, you have it. And guess what? You just put marketing power behind their brand. Hey, if you have it and it looks good on you, then maybe my fat ass will look good too. Isn't that kind of interesting? So, and I'm not trying to be vulgar, I'm not trying to be mean, but let's just face it. The brand does not always make us better. Although I wouldn't mind a Ferrari in my driveway to make me go faster, but the experience is, the power lies within the attention. But if I, like he said, like this Cunningham guy, he says, if I don't take money from you, you can't tell me how to dish out my creativity. And isn't that interesting nowadays that so many of us want to be podcasters? We want to be on YouTube. We want to make money like Joe Rogan, or we want to make money like a celebrity. Hey, I've got creative stuff. And it takes a lot of attention. That's right. We follow by the same plight they do. The only difference is the funding, the presentation, and a team of people working on intricate parts. How many people in your team, in your life, that's right, your team, are really encouraging you, like, hey, dads, go save money. We definitely want to save for that vacation. How many people are your wife saying, "Hey, babe, I really want us to build up $10,000 in the next 3 months in our savings." You don't hear that. You're like, "Oh, you know what? Let me go earn it and deal with all the other coverages and stressors." But that comes from attention. Now, when we look at attention, I won't wait. Hold on. No Show says, I want to rep Speedos. I got you, bro. I got actually a connection to Speedos. So my kids have been swimmers. So if you want that, I'll get you the red Speedo, extra tight, probably go up your butt crack. And there you go, buddy. So yeah, so definitely, brands can say a lot about what we represent and how we represent ourselves. Even when we go and look for employment, we look at the qualifications. You ever notice that how people kind of sit up a little bit more uptight and upright, and you got that perfect posture, and it's like I'm interviewing, right? And and you're just like, I'm just trying to get in. Just give me the paycheck, buddy. Come on, just give it to me, right? But it goes more into that. They're like, well, let's look at your resume. Let's look at the qualifications. What brands have you represented? And can we verify of what you say that you've done? Now, most of the time, a lot of people are BSing on the resume, just like, hey, a magazine. Oh, yep, nope, next page. Same with making content creation. It's it's like, okay, can I last more than 30 seconds or a minute of a person's attention, right? So it shows us that the power of fortune is within your hands by choosing where you want to go, where you want to see, listen to, think about. I mean, this week, me and No Show we did a blank canvas, kind of like an impromptu, and we talked about, um, what's his name, Tucker Carlson. We talked about that a little bit, right? And now he's all over social media right now. He's going out, it's like, you think you have me under control. But he's like, not so fast. I'm a journalist and I know how journalism works. I know how the dollar is spun in your attention. But it's very interesting about how we play it on them and then they play it on us. Because when he was producing with Fox, doing his talks and he was going at politicians like Joe Biden as president, of course, it seemed like, hey, and Trump is our golden savior. Yes, right. That golden menace with the toupee. That's right. We've seen it flop in the air. And how much is he worth? Oh, he's the politician who was a businessman. We should believe him. That's right. Let's go. He's not Jesus Christ, but you know what? More people use, have you been trumped? You ever notice that? Even that is a brand in itself. Your behavior has been trumped. And I'm like, I'm not so comfortable with that. But today, in principle and review, it's to really think about what you praise gets the power. What if you turned it inside out? Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, they talk about this. Marcus Aurelius basically says, hey, you know what? Did you ever think about really looking at the guts? Did you ever think about really looking at the specifics? It may not be so glorious. Like I remember in the news not too long ago, there were 4 individuals who traveled, I believe, from Texas into a border town and they got hijacked. And it was all over the news, right? It was all over the news that 4 Americans were attacked. Well, what they didn't tell you, which was unveiled in a couple days later, that it was all a bad drug deal. And the news kind of looked like, yo, we got our pants down. Oh my gosh, this is not going to work for us. And a couple individuals were killed. And it went so far as like Lindsey Graham went on public, we should invade Mexico. We should really take away the fentanyl and the drug problem down there. If they can't solve it, we can. You know what the Mexican president said? Silly American. You send people down here, you might have a bit of a problem. You worry about our drug cartels. And this is what he said. And I'm translating and paraphrasing. He basically says, send your people down here and see what happens. But what about your problem? What about your cartels? You guys make the guns that come down here. What's that all about? And we're not shipping it in. And the claim was that fentanyl was coming from Mexico. No, first the ingredients were coming from China. China was making it, ship it through Mexico, coming up through the border, and here we are. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's a shifting of the cards. Oh, hey, Find the ace of hearts. Find it. Oh, wrong choice. Whoops. So when it comes to how we're informed and where we get power of our attention, think about, do you take time to decide things? Do you automatically want to get pissed off at things? Did it not really work out? How many times have you bought something and the hype was supposed to be all that dope? For example, I remember, and when I was in video games, the hype around getting a PlayStation. Remember that? Getting a PlayStation was supposed to be super dope. Oh, it was going to transform media, and it kind of did. But it really showed something more sinister, addiction. Addiction for men to sit in front of a screen for hours on end. They stopped going out and doing stuff. They started expanding. They started playing games, and guess what? Yeah, sure, whatever. And they started having fatigue on their eyes, their belly, because they weren't acting, they weren't doing anything. And then they started looking at the device. It's like, dude, I'm not making any money by being up all night. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I like this Trump 2024 no show. Thanks, man. Definitely appreciate that guy for sure. Let's give him a round of applause. That's right. We are here not to advocate for presidents, because why? It's either a jackass or an elephant. What about the other animals? What about giraffes and porcupines? Yeah, no one wants to be the prick there, huh? But anyway, getting back to the point, when we look at what's actually taking place in our attention, there are a lot of conspiracy theorists. They say, well, like for example, the vaccine supposedly has a microchip and it's going through your system. I remember seeing those videos all over TikTok. I remember seeing those videos on Instagram, and then all of a sudden it was fake news and they take it down. Or were they? Or was it fake news? Whenever we have to transform our attention, everyone becomes an expert instead of just saying, you know what? Let me just kind of sit back and learn about this a little bit. Let me just kind of think about what you're saying and what you're selling. Is it really right for me? I'm good. I've got plenty, and when I figured this out for myself years ago, I stopped tuning into the news the first thing when I got up. You know how many of us like grab your cup of coffee, you want to turn on the news, you're shocked and awed, and then you're like, and you cause discussions. Well, that's advertisement, if you ask me. Get people in a controversial mindset and see where things go. I think that's something that we need to take advantage of. And it goes really, really further. Like, people will spend their last dime to get a pair of Jordans in some places. Think about that. Would you rather eat good tonight, or, my baby needs Jordans. He needs to look fly. Well, not so fast, not so fast. And people complain like, what about financial freedom? Let's talk about fiscal awareness, education. The school should be teaching this, damn it. Really, Shirley? Okay, I got a question for you. Did you learn how to add and subtract? Well, yes. Did you learn how to multiply and divide? Well, yes. Did you learn how to read and write? Yes. Did you learn how to ask questions? Yes. Well, damn. Well, isn't that financial literacy? Is that not the most powerful gift in your hands? The power of applying attention through filters and tools. I know how to write things. I know how to ask a question. That's business 101. Subtract and add. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to think about, what have you given your attention away today? How were you not awake to the scenarios? Were you blown away with smoke and mirrors of the latest thing, the crisis? Let's see. What is this? Bent on Chrome. He says, today, be awakened in the mind and body and spirit, for you are beautiful and made just the way you are. Love. Appreciate you, guy. That's right. Yep. We are definitely giving that guy praise. That's right. You get praise on here. You come on, Clapper. You give me a support. I appreciate you so much. That also, because I announced his name, that's brand ambassador right there. That's like, hey, go check that guy out. Give him a follow. Let's see. Voodoo Daddy, hey, he says, I heard someone say earlier, I've got a life. I got a job. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. That's right. You're getting applause too. We are people here to convince you of your value. But I always find it interesting that when we are trying to convince value, we're doing it more on the outside than the inside. Check your beliefs. You know, I left officially Christianity. I still practice levels of Christianity as an example, but I left promoting Christianity a while ago. And I was just like, you know what? I'm tired of feeling ashamed. I'm tired of feeling like I'm lower, that I'm not good enough. I'm tired of listening to this sorrowful music. And that's just my personal view. But that doesn't mean I've given up God, right? I just don't advertise that I'm right and you're wrong. I let people be as they are. I listen to people. I take in consideration of what matters most and what truly does matter most. The level of your attention, what you attend to. So the recommendations of what you can do today. What are the really valuable, recommendations? Number one, learn how to speak, right? Seems easy. But is it? Because more nowadays, people are tracked down for what they say, even when it's just passive things. It's not that deep. It's not that serious, right? People do that. And they're willing to track you down, haunt your reputation, and say you're wrong. The low-bearing fruit, as they say. But see, the celebrities, they have all that protection. They have people they have spokespeople, they have media and strategists, they have all this. But you, as the average Joe or Jane or Jose and Maria, whatever you want to call it, where's their attention protected? I didn't mean it that way. But yet we make public displays how to hurt people. And yet they still keep collecting checks. And then they will sell you programs. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Your attention comes with instructions. You're not smart enough. You're going to be doubted. You're not going to actually be qualified enough. Get me to doubt you more than you ever been before. And while we're doing it to your kids too. You ever notice that more teens are rebelling in certain ways? They're getting informed. And the way that they're getting informed is to weaponize themselves against their parents. I kind of feel that that's crazy. Even here in California, they have now statutes on the books. They have on the state assembly. I happened to listen to a friend of mine, or not, I shouldn't say friend of mine, someone who I admire on TikTok and a fellow Stocktonian who's an activist, and saying there was a certain act, I can't remember the number, but it's where if a child feels threatened by you at school and tells a counselor, that the counselor and the school administrators could start calling the means to not having you go home. And then CPS has to investigate your parents. It happens. And this is a mode to take away, in my opinion, your kids to a degree. But there's a lot to it than just what I said. And see, even by me not being able to nail down the statute and saying what congressman or what assemblyman proposed that, even I can be questioned. It's just an example. So when you get people riled up and fearful and you talk about that kind of stuff, I can almost guarantee you're going to get backlash. You're going to get people's like, no, you're wrong. I'm right. And where is our accountability? I like that question. Voodoo Daddy says, I heard someone say, okay, I feel you there. I left Catholic at age 15, but I'm still a Christian also. I appreciate that. Like I said, I still practice a level of Christianity. I just don't use the label. That's my personal thing, because I can accept Muslims and Buddhists and Taoists all the same. They all have very valuable knowledge that helps me process. Philosophy covers many different fields. So it says you're talking about accountability. Exactly. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But when we take time to realize the power of our attention is worth more than actual gold, if you get someone informed enough and then they talk to enough people, what can those people do? We've seen it during Black Lives Matter. We've seen it during George Floyd. We've seen during the height. Here's an interesting thing. I remember in 2020, between March and July, more people were going out protesting and not even worried about a condition of COVID. They were out there protesting and saying we need to get civilized. We need to protect our people. No man should be, pinned down and choked, right? But they didn't care whether they were passing the virus out. They didn't care. No. They got pissed off enough. That's right. They got pissed off enough and tell you, no, coppers, you can't do that to people. And the fate of those officers, some of them are serving time in prison. Think about it. But in the meantime, what you didn't realize, supposedly the virus spread amongst y'all, got you sick, allegedly. And then here came the saviors. We've got a vaccine. Now, whether the vaccine works or not here to debate that. But people were willing to just take anything so that they can live their normal lives. But the real power is in their attention, right? Think about that. The power was really in your attention of what you were paying attention to. I mean, just like I remember in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, when people were like watching CNN as we're invading Iraq, same thing. Your level of attention means more to you and them, and they will calculate. They invented our devices. I love having the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Hey, am I advertising for Apple? Maybe. Does it allow me to transmit a communication on you or to talk to you? Absolutely. So the accountability, and we look at all the things, the power of your attention represents a lot. They even said the new revenue stream of the world is data source. That's right, communication. I can tell you how much something's going to cost. I can tell you, I can inflate a digital coin like Ethereum or even Bitcoin. I can make it go up, but just by you talking. If enough of you go out talking about Bitcoin as an example, crypto, right? More people will flood to it, but also people will leave it at the same time. I've seen that happen. I remember when Shiba Inu, as an example, and people were like, oh, uproar. A guy made almost billions. Hey, Jenny, good to see you. Thank you for coming on over. I definitely appreciate you. So hello to my friends from Clubhouse, Jenny, and her lounge. Hey, so great to see you. That's right. So the point is, when we look at the level of attention, and if you were to farm that attention the right way, you talk to enough people, you cultivate them in just enough, and you see what happens and how they act. Yeah. And we've even seen families turn on each other. If you don't do this, you don't get a certain shot. I can't be around you. I deal with that with my own mom. And I was like, you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. But see, for the intelligent people, slow down. All right. I've got my basics covered. You know what? I've got a house full of food. I have my vehicle. I still have my position, my job. I still have revenue stream. I'm not going to go out and just flood. It's kind of like the Pied Piper, or the one that led the rats, you know, it's like play the right tune and people will follow. Think about it. It means a lot to you. And so what are we going to do differently? Start scaling back. Remember, hey, I don't know if you guys have all heard it, but we are allegedly in a recession, right? People are losing their jobs. Companies like Facebook and Google and Microsoft have laid off thousands of workers. Elon Musk was notorious. He became infamous for cutting loose a labor force that was not doing anything. Got a lot of attention. If one company could do it, so can another. So if we think about what this means to us, a company doesn't get its value unless it has people. Now we have these artificial intelligence, we have these things, these bots that can do just as good as a job as a lot of us, but it still needs the machine learning, okay, hold on. Sorry about that. Alarm came on, getting ready to tell me, hey, time to get up, do work and all that fancy thing. But like I said, the point of the day is learn about where your attention goes and where it flows. Are you encouraging another? Are you helping another person really get up? I've had friends who've run across difficult times and went homeless, and I'm concerned about them. Would I lend my house to them? That's a true testament on me, you know? And what about them? What about the people on the street? In here in California, you can see from north to south and south to north, the communities of homelessness are so huge, but yet we will argue about dumbass people. That's right, dumbasses. We will argue about what a politician meant and what he got arrested for. Those people out in the street, they're stopping you from going into those stores. They're stopping you from exploring a downtown. You ever find some really beautiful big cities that have just such amazing centers? Architecture, parks, um, foods, languages. That's what makes business grow. And the thought of monopolizing, not every business needs to have a global connect point. And I think that's where we're at. And I do appreciate people who've created small businesses because it's that customization. Like my barber. I do not go to a corporate barber. My barber takes really good care of me. Busts out that old straight edge, you know, does that hot lathery soap, gives me a shave, whatever. That's great attention. And see, we are so eager. We like to be the vessels. Like, hey, let me take that message and this visual, and I'm going to share it on my Instagram. I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to put it on my TikTok and my Clapper. And that's where I want to encourage you all. Take your personal attention, take your personal brand, make it work with others and sort of big brands, right? We do need big brands, don't get me wrong, but the power of your attention can help people thrive. And you got to ask yourself, is my creativity taken away? Because there's a lot of people out there that want to be creative and want to explore and make money. That's right, make money. There's nothing wrong with that, you know, but is money real, or is it just a figment of our imagination that like we will slave, we will fight, we will cross each other, you know? So anyhow, let's see if anyone has any comments. I'm getting ready to close the show for today. So I make it for a half hour. I will be back on Monday between the hours of 7 and 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 10 a.m. Mountain Central. The GMT, I think it's like 3 or 4. So for those who are watching around the globe, I definitely appreciate if you spread the brand even better. I'm going to be working diligently this weekend and getting my website up so I'll be able to put a calendar up and monetize. That's right. I'm going to be monetizing a few products, a few comedic products out there to not only just fund the show, fund what I do on here so we can do that. But if you have a brand and you want to talk about your brand, you want to come on the show and you want to talk about, daily. So I think what I'll be doing on Sundays is doing a show called Sunday Brunch, which I do related to Rise and Grind. And it's talking to every average day people, no matter what you do. I'm not interested in big celebrities as much, but, a person that's making something. I just met the other day a guy who has taken back the art of sharpening knives. He learned from his grandfather, from sharpening barber scissors to butcher knives. He has a mobile service. And I'm like, dude, I would love for you to do some work on my knives. Because some of my knives, when I'm barbecuing, cutting things up, it works great with the sharp knife. So these old services are coming back, customization services, and that's worth getting your attention. Well, anyhow, that's it for Rise and Grind today. We'll see you all next time. And be on the lookout. I will be releasing information about Blank Canvas. What is Blank Canvas? Just to give you a heads up. Blank Canvas is me and Mr. No Show. We come on and we talk about social impacting issues. It could be business. It could be politics. It could be so many different things. So I will be putting out information. I think overall, we might be making it Monday nights or every other Mondays and possibly Sundays. I'm not really sure. We're trying to nail down some calendar dates, but it's a great show to be a part of. It will be on YouTube, just like this one is now. So if you missed the beginning of this show, it's on YouTube. Look up 72 the Architect and you'll be able to find today's latest episodes, like the week in review, and you'll be able to have that. Anyhow, y'all take care. Y'all have a great one. We'll see you next time on Rise and Grind. All right.